Today we are hopping into a little bit different format. We do a lot of underdog drafts. We do a little bit of DraftKings drafts. We do a little bit of everything best ball related. But drafters fantasy is one of the more, I think, fun um, formats that exist in best ball in fantasy sports. Some might call it the most pure form of fantasy sports. And they have an early NFL best ball championship tournament that we are going to hop into today. We need just a couple more. If you're listening, go ahead and hop on in. It's only $5.55, but they have a cumulative scoring format as opposed to the playoff, 3 round playoff format, which makes it a little bit different, quite a bit different, actually, from a strategy perspective. So we'll get into that and a whole lot more as we draft the team on Drafters here today. Let's do it. All right, what is going on, guys? Looks like this is perfectly timed. We need one more. If you're watching, we need one more for the drafters early NFL best ball championship. I am going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Here it is, $5.55 to enter. Obviously, similar to some of the other contests we've been talking about on this in regards to NFL for a long time, where it's going to lock at the NFL draft, and we're going to let it ride from there on. It is not super flex. It is not any other chaotic format. It is your standard form of best ball of fantasy. It is 20 rounds. It is full point PPR. I think that's other than the cumulative scoring, that is clearly the biggest difference as it pertains to from drafters to say underdog. It's funny you say this, Shane. This is my second NFL best ball draft in quite a while. I had taken a little bit of a break. There was obviously baseball for us to dive into. I'm deep into the NBA playoff stuff. So there was a lot going on. And so now that I'm getting a little bit back into NFL, drafters is actually where I'm going to be kind of focusing my attention, at least for a little bit here in this early NFL contest. The other thing you see here, if you're looking at my screen, it's only 3,500 filled out of 10,000. So there's a lot of entries still that need to get into this over the course of it's live on April 28th. So, potential for overlay, which is always good for us, players to chase a little bit of overlay. Let me double check here. Pull this up. Yeah, still need one more if you're watching. Need one more. I know it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to be watching the stream and having to wait for it. So I'll be the beggar. I don't mind. Punch it into the Discord. So there we go. So now it's full. Uncle Andy, thank you. Next time we'll do one when you're not at work. When do you get off work? Where do you live? What's your real name? What's your social? Kidding. But I am going to try to schedule some drafts for evenings and stuff. As we start to get into, during the off season, I'll be honest with you, I'm working mostly around my schedule. That's how it goes. When we get to this summer, basically in the heart of drafting season, I'll make sure to work around Andy's schedule and other people's schedule. All right, let's hop in here. Got the 106. Of course, Eagles is in here. I see Lemmings. I see Best Ball Nation. I see I don't know everybody here. Shane, obviously, that Philly kid. I'm pretty sure I've seen this name before. Ben, I believe, won. I follow Ben on Twitter. Ben won the Drafters main tournament last year. I think. I think so. Um, so yeah, way too many smart people in here. I'm gonna be the rake, but that's okay. That's okay. Paul V says, I'm in. Drafters is my new home after Ontario rug dust. Yeah, man, that's painful. It's been a painful couple of weeks for best ball players with fantasy sports players. Not just, I mean, even way more than just best ball, right? With Ontario and today with Michigan. If anybody did not see, Underdog had to pull out of Michigan because of some regulation type stuff. So the government, Cooper Cup 101, government fucks us again. Shane says the biggest thing to consider when drafting on drafters versus underdog, besides cumulative scoring, what do you think? Well, definitely PPR. I think it's weird because it would be easy to boil it down to one of the two things. Like, okay, it's cumulative scoring. Oh, it's PPR. There's When you combine those two elements, I think that's the big huge difference is like figuring out how to wrap your head around the fact that it is full point PPR and cumulative scoring. The way that points are scored in this particular format is so different. Like I'm obviously on the clock here. Okay, so now I have to stick to my personal rankings, the Spike Week rankings. As of right now, I have Justin Jefferson over Cooper Cup. I love this player pop up that they have here. This is nice. They've definitely done some great work. I do want to, before we get into some of the strategy talk, I want to shout out the drafters team because I'll shoot you guys straight. You guys know me. I'm down for every single platform that is in this space. I was definitely supportive of drafters and the team last year. I know we partnered with them on some stuff. We did the big like season long spike week like roto grinders specific tournament. They were awesome in helping us do that. They're an incredible partner, but the just being blunt and the feedback that I've gotten from people is like especially like from a streaming perspective, the platform wasn't always quite as easy to deal with. In my opinion, the upgrades and everything that they've done this year and some of the unique things that they're doing that we'll get into, not necessarily today, but we're definitely going to get into over the course of the next couple of weeks. The things that they are doing to make sure that they are right there in terms of leading the kind of best ball evolution, leading this best ball space into what we all kind of hope it's going to be, right? Continue to grow, continue to blow up, have bigger price pools, have better products, have more contest types, have everything. I feel really good about what Drafters is doing. So I do want to give them a huge shout out. I think in order for this thing to sustain, like if anybody plays on DraftKings, like full well that they really don't give a shit about their best ball product. Whereas we know that Underdog does and Drafters absolutely does. And they're doing some innovative things. They're really improving the platform. It's becoming so much better from a usability and user experience perspective. And I think big things are coming, in my opinion, for drafters. So I'm excited to be doing a lot more of their drafts as well this summer. My damn scroll here is not functioning on StreamYard for me. Let me try something. There we go. So I am up in one pick. Shane is picking right next to me, which is funny. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Ooh, this is painful. I don't really like any of these guys. Let's take a look here. Good Lord, man. You guys really took all the wide receivers. Okay, I got 10 seconds. I am going to queue up T. Higgins, which is kind of painful. But I think I'm going to take T here. Yeah. For a couple of reasons. One, I took Justin Jefferson, and I do kind of like taking T. Now, the second round may be a little bit steep, but I kind of take I kind of like taking Higgins on if you take Jefferson over Chase. It's like if Jefferson is going to be the smash round one wide receiver, either Chase is getting hurt or he's kind of just like in a total split with T. Higgins. So, really galaxy brain in that. It's not like it really matters that much. However, I do really love T. Higgins. On top of that, the way this draft is clearly playing out, as Shane says here, he left running backs. He left running backs for me because he knows how much I love them. That was part of what I was figuring, was that there's going to be a running back of very similar quality that I like just as much coming back to me in the third round or fourth round or whatever. And so I was just going to get one of the best wide receivers and then kind of let the room start to figure out what they want to do. I don't particularly care for Alvin Kamara. Nick Chubb, particularly in full point PPR, I think it's a little tougher with him there. I like Mike Evans was definitely in consideration as well, who Eagles just took. I don't really love Mark Andrews there, so it was just kind of a weird spot where I'm just going to take the guy that I like. I'm just going to take T. Higgins, and that's okay. So Anthony asks, notable changes in player ADP versus underdog. Full disclosure, this is only the second drafters draft that I've done, and so I don't have a player by player ADP. I would actually that's something that we're going to do for this upcoming draft. So everything for us like really kicks off after the NFL draft. That's when Drafters is going to launch their big contest. That's when Underdog is going to launch their big contest. Same thing with DraftKings. Maybe FanDuel will get in the mix. Yahoo, who knows? Everything is going to kick off after the NFL draft. So for us at Spike Week, that is also when like everything is really going to kick off. And so to this question, I'm not, I haven't been drafting a ton of NFL teams. I haven't drafted a ton of NFL teams yet on Drafters either. So I can't say 100% like player by player ADP differences, but I will say that is something that we're going to have on the site, like site specific ADPs. We'll be able to compare ADPs across sites. Maybe that can lead us to some of these players are values, some of these players are not on individual sites. So something we're working on for sure. And I agree, Eagles. I just love what they're doing. Oh man, we got a really robust guy next to me here. Man, let me look here. Lenny. I mean, so I will say I totally understand the Fournette thing, and I might take him actually. God. So this makes me sick. I almost didn't take Fournette just because I have a brand to uphold. However, in this format specifically, I really feel like it's just hard for me when you get a Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins start to get a Leonard Fournette or Antonio Gibson or James Conner or pick one of these running backs that are like Fournette and James Conner specifically. When we get projections come out in a month after the NFL draft, like these guys are going to project, but like Leonard Fournette will project better than DeAndre Swift. Leonard Fournette will project better than probably Joe Mixon because he is the every down pass catching back on the Bucks. Joe Mixon comes out on a lot of passing downs. And so it pains me to now buy the top, but I will say that's one thing I like about this format in particular is Lenny is to me a pretty big risk on the tournaments, like on Underdog, like on DraftKings, like on other formats, FFPC, whatever, where you not only need him to have a good year, You need him to sustain and be a monster in week 17. And part of the reason why these types of running backs fail is not because they don't perform when they're out there. It is that he's a little bit older. He's got mileage on him now. You're banking on an older guy in a fairly fragile offense. Like God bless, Tom Brady and the skill sets that they have, but they're starting to, Chris Godwin, AB is obviously gone. They replaced AB with Russell Gage. That's fine. I don't mind Russell Gage, but that's a downgrade. They Mike Evans gets hurt very frequently. They're maybe going to be dependent upon Gronk when and if Gronk comes back, or Cameron Brate. They're going to be dependent upon a 45-year-old quarterback, or however old Tom Brady is, and so it's fragile. Early, older running backs that are dependent upon a bunch of volume are fragile in specifically the playoff format, because there's so many ways for it to go wrong for them. In this format, week 1, as I think Paul in the Discord, I think, was saying, joking about Sammy Watkins, but week 1 is just as important as week 17 in this format. I'm trying to score the most points through 17 weeks. And so that adds some importance to the players like Leonard Fournette, that, if I don't have him in week 17, of course, that's not ideal. I want him to be there in week 17, but it is less of an issue than in the other formats. Okay. Now I say this, and the other guy I wanted, James Conner. I'm taking James Conner. I think those two are really undervalued. Again, in this format, probably in every format, but in this format for sure. Workhorse, pass catchers, right? So you get the PPR element. PPR element is probably a huge boost for those two guys specifically. Definitely for Conner. And so you're in good offenses. You're projected workhorses that catch passes, that get goal line carries, they get all the high value touches, and getting them, like, how big of a difference is there, seriously, from Leonard Fournette and James Conner to Austin Eckler and Dalvin Cook, who go in the first round? How big of a difference is there? I'm not saying that those guys aren't better, but what is the difference? The difference, however, from Justin Jefferson to Jalen Waddle, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, there's a pretty big difference, right? What's the difference from T. Higgins to, this is not the world's best example, but I'll take T over Nuke. I'll take T over Keenan Allen, right? So it's kind of this 2v2, 3v3 game where if I'm going to take these running backs in the first early rounds, why would I not take the discount on Fournette and Conner? Again, especially in this format. I think they're just perfect for this format. They're perfect for a lot of formats, but full point PPR, cumulative scoring, I think those two specifically are really strong picks. Yeah, Terrence says Fournette, Conner, and Jacobs 50% plus for me. I don't know where Jacobs goes. I can look really quick. Where is Jacobs? Did he go already? Yeah, okay. He went in so I definitely see the thing with Jacobs. The really positive thing with Jacobs is, we know he can catch passes. It's probably the thing that the reason why he got drafted where he did when he came into the NFL was because of his ability to be a passing down player. And so then you just needed him to add the early down stuff. And then he's had like the Antonio Gibson style pro career, which doesn't make any sense, where the guy's best skill set is probably that of a split early down player and then playing all the passing downs, and the team plays him on the early downs and brings in somebody on passing downs, which is just so bizarre and silly. But point being, if now with Carr for sure back, with Devontae Adams, right, with this high scoring division, there's a lot of reasons for optimism around Josh Jacobs. It's just there's also, like, he has to get that role, and I'm not sure that he's going to get that role, but we will see. Trying to decide between Burrow and Elijah Moore here. I think I'm gonna side with the stack. Side with the old Burrow T Higgins stack. I also like Burrow is actually a little bit of a difficult pick for me, especially in the 5th round. Um, like him versus Brady, there's not that big of a difference. Honestly, him versus Dak and Russ and Stafford, there's not that big of a difference. But I think the floor he provides in this format is really nice. I feel very confident about what we should expect from that offense, and so there's that potential of the continuity of that offense, the offensive line upgrades, to superstar young wide receivers, a smart coaching staff, and you just get locked in, rock solid, top 5 quarterback or whatever, wherever you want to put him, right? Him and Herbert, just are they really going to be the QB1? No, probably not. But just give me that rock solid production at quarterback again in this format. I just need those points every single week. I don't need you to outscore Josh Allen to win this thing. That's not the game we're playing. And so I think that when you have a Chase or Higgins, it makes some sense to take Burrow. I would have taken Elijah Moore if I was light on wide receivers, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Terrence says goal line work for Jacobs, like Connor. Yeah, definitely. So, which is a really nice thing for in that offense now in that division. Again, I'll probably say this way too many times over the course of this off season, but man, just targeting that division is really fun. That's it's just such a nice perk that you can't be conservative. You have to score points in that division, and so that is nice for sure. Yeah, definitely for sure. No, that I mean that's not to say that the Bengals won't either. The Chargers went for it so much on 4th down because their defense was horrible. The analytics would say to go for it more because your defense stinks. That's part of what plays into kind of the data, and so that's why they did what they did. See. This is one where it's been a little bit since I've drafted NFL teams. This is hurts my head to look at Cortland Sutton in the 6th round because I was taking him in the 10th round or whatever of underdog drafts when we first started out. But I'm just in on the Broncos offense. I'm in on the boost that that Russ provides. That offense again, that division is really nice. And so if Jerry Judy's going in the 5th round, I don't really see a difference between Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. It's April 14th, but it's just one of those things where I get kind of why Judy goes higher than Sutton, but I don't really know that there's much of a gap there. Even from a range of outcomes perspective, from a probability perspective, Sutton might actually be a better fit with Russ. There's some people. Shout out to the people in the Spike Week Discord that have talked about Josh Pringle, JXP, and some others have talked about Russ's inability, or not inability, Russ's lack of kind of throwing over the middle because of his height, because of some different things. He has a tendency to throw outside a little bit more, maybe down the field a little bit more. That's not to say that he can't, unlock Jerry Judy, but it is just to say that there's possible indicators that could lead to Sutton actually being the guy. Or, I don't. Alberto is a bad example because he would theoretically be over the middle, but an outside player, or maybe Jerry Judy plays outside and KJ Hamler plays inside. I kind of doubt it, but you know what I mean. I think there's a lot of variance in how that plays out, and so I'll take the cheaper one of Sutton and Judy. Like I said, I haven't drafted a ton in here yet. I've only drafted one other time besides this, and that was when the Broncos wide receiver, the rush trade had already happened. So I don't think there's so many teams in this. People love to ask that question, right? Like, well, if Sutton was a ninth round pick before, are you sure you want to take him in the sixth? In this contest in particular, I don't think that there were enough teams drafted before all that happened to worry about it too much. And other stuff has changed, right? It's been such a crazy offseason that I'm not too worried about any of those types of things. I really don't want to take Brady. I'm hoping that this gentleman, this okay, good. I really didn't want to take Brady, but I might take Russ now that I have just lock up elite level. What's the tight end sitch? Ooh, what pick is this? Yeah, I don't have a tight end. I gotta take my guy. If you watch any of my few NFL streams or you've checked out the rankings at Spike Week, which have not been updated, by the way. I'm not updating them until after the draft now. I'll probably be doing the updates during the weekend of the NFL draft. But anyway, if you had checked out anything until up until now, you'll know that Dallas Goedert. I'm extremely high on Dallas Goedert, and so again in this format, something that I'm a pretty big fan of. What the hell just happened here? How do I view? No, other view. There we go. That's fine. How do I maximize my ability to win a cumulative format and making sure I'm not bleeding quarterback points and making sure I'm not bleeding tight end points are two of the simplest ways. It doesn't mean you can't draft late tight end or you can't draft late quarterback. There are tons of ways to skin a cat, even in this format. But I think the easiest way to make sure that you give yourself a path to first place is probably elite tight end and elite quarterback. And Goddard is someone that I believe in as an elite tight end. And so he's kind of like a guy I would consider a strong edge in this tournament. Like everyone else has spent, Hawkinson went in the sixth, Waller fourth, Kittle. Where's Kittle? I mean, Schultz went in the sixth. Did I miss Kittle? Help me. Oh, Kittle right there in the fourth. So Kittle and Waller in the fourth, Schultz and Hawkinson in the sixth, Pitts in the third, Andrews in the second, obviously Kelsey in the first. I actually have Goddard over some of those guys, multiple of those guys, and I think his upside is Andrews of last year, the hyper efficient from a per route, per target, per passing down, per snap, everything. His efficiency is absolutely not the question. We've been waiting for Zach Ertz to be gone from that offense. The whole time Dallas Goedert has been there. Now he is gone. Then he produced once Ertz left. He flashed the ceiling multiple times, including in the last game when they had to pass more. Now, we're not projecting them to pass a lot. That's why he goes where he goes. But we weren't projecting Baltimore to pass a lot last year either. So what happens if they threw the fewest amount, the Eagles threw the fewest amount of passes in the NFL last year. So you don't need them to throw 700 times or whatever to pay off for this this cost for Dallas Goedert. So big fan, big huge fan. Ayuk, Burks, London. I don't want one of these quarterbacks. Ooh, Tony Pollard. I do think I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna buy the Brandon Ayuk dip. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I do feel like I've been speaking into a void. Terrence says he loves Goddard as well. I feel like I've been speaking into a void on Goddard. Like no one seems to be like he was one of the guys that I like when contests opened on underdogs or on drafters or whatever, in freaking February. Like the season wasn't over and we're drafting for 2022. Like people started drafting. I hopped in blindly without any research, and I'm like, oh my God, Dallas Goedert. at this cost is a smash. I'm like, he's like my favorite pick in drafts. And I've been like singing it from the last year. Last year, if I talk about Darrington Evans for 2 weeks, he goes from undrafted to like the 14th round. You idiots decide to buy in on this random late round running back that I like, it was just a guy that I wanted to invest in. But then Goddard, who I think actually makes a lot of sense, like maybe I'm just crazy. He seems to make way too much sense to me at this cost. It's like you can't lose and you can win huge on Goddard at this cost, but his price just doesn't budge. No one takes him. It doesn't make any sense to me. Paul says, in my last few super flex drafts, I was mainly drafting guys that were falling, and Goddard was definitely one of those guys. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, this is what I understand this take. Tony says, I'd love Goddard more if Minshew was the quarterback. Mark Andrews destroyed every single tight end with Tyler Huntley as the quarterback. It like doesn't matter. Jalen Hurts is fine for Dallas Goddard to smash. That's not like Jalen Hurts being bad is not like a bad passer. It doesn't even really matter. Gardner Minshew isn't that much better of a passer. I probably would prefer him too, if we're being totally honest, but it's fine. They just need to throw a little bit more. It doesn't really matter. Robert Woods. I still can't do the Robert Woods thing. Good old Tennessee. Okay. Ooh, man, everybody's waiting on quarterback now, huh? And CEH. I am going to cue CEH just because I don't have a take yet on these spots. Actually, I do. I have to stick to the brand. I believe I still have Trey Lance as like my QB8. So what? How many QBs have gone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he went as the QB 13. And Aaron Rodgers is there, Derek Carr is there, Kirk Cousins is there. I certainly get it, but I'm gonna Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football, Trey Lance again this year, and we don't even really need to talk about it anymore. It is what it is. We're gonna lose on Trey Lance when Jimmy G when Jimmy G is starting. We are gonna lose on Trey Lance. So I'm just getting ready for the tilt. I'm also posting if you're in here and you're yeah, exactly. I don't even want to Sir Shebate says taking Jimmy's backup again. Yeah, I don't even want to I don't even want to talk about it. It's a great joke. It's a great joke. Trey Lance was fun to watch in Fargo. There's going to be a lot of good there's going to be a lot of good Trey Lance material over the next whatever 4 months, and I'm going to keep drafting him, and I'm going to laugh every single time people in the chat post oh my god, here we go. Uncle Andy is out on Lance. We're gonna them's fighting words. So now really send me your social. Those are fighting words. Yeah, we don't have to talk about Trey Lance anymore. That's awesome. Shane grew up close, or Trey Lance grew up close to Shane and got to watch him often when he was young. I would just love to watch him this year. I would have loved to watch him last year in the NFL a little bit more than the 1.5 games or whatever it was that he played. Albert, I was kind of wondering how that would go, where he would settle in, because I definitely like him more than these tight ends that we have here. So that's a little disappointing, But I have my quarterbacks. I have my elite tight end. I'm in pretty good shape. I'm gonna just queue up a couple of backs here. I don't mind Melvin. Got to look at wide receiver though. Oh, easy game. Sometimes it just comes together for you. I don't even know if Boyd is my favorite guy there, but that's kind of the point of it doesn't matter who my favorite guy is. I have Joe Burrow and I have T. Higgins. I've set up this Bengal stack. It fell together perfect for me. I have Lance to Ayuk. I have Burrow to Higgins and Boyd. I have elite tight end. I have 2 running backs I love. Right? I don't know. This is a pretty strong team. This is a pretty strong team, in my opinion, for any format, but this format in particular, I think this is a really, really good team. Obviously, I'm going to have to build out some depth here now at running back with some ancillary wide receivers, but you have superstar wide receiver, maybe 2 superstar wide receivers, 2 running backs who I think are super undervalued, catch passes in awesome offenses with 2 really good stacks, high upside stacks. I think this is sometimes you just get lucky. So you show up and everything falls into place for a draft that you're doing on stream, and I feel like this is one of them. Sometimes you show up and everybody snipes you, and it doesn't work out. But this is not too bad. I like this team so far. I'm gonna blow it because I don't know the ADPs. Like basically from here on, I don't know any of the ADPs here on Drafters. I mean, I wouldn't know any of the ADPs on Underdog or anything right now, but we'll see. I did notice that when I did my other Drafters draft. I think somebody mentioned that in the chat. Paul, yeah, Paul. Paul D says, in general, rookies and young guys go lower. Dusty vets go higher, which is at least somewhat correct given the full season scoring. And I think that's a really great way to put it. The rookies and stuff go high on Underdog because we know the later weeks are more valuable than the early weeks. And so you might be able to scrape by, right? You can also just hope for some variance early in the season, scrape by, get some lucky touchdowns, whatever. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown breaks out at the end of the season and wins you $1 million or whatever. Ooh. Jacoby Myers versus Will Fuller versus Kenny Galladay versus Melvin Gordon versus Darrell Henderson. That is an interesting question. I'm trying to think about this. I'm actually going to take Jacoby Myers. I would almost snap take Will Fuller every time in these drafts, but I'm trying not to get overexposed to Will Fuller before the NFL draft even gets here. And Jacoby Myers, another one in this format that's just almost bankable points every single week. Targets per route run, yards per route run. The guy is like kind of a dominator. Just obviously hasn't scored the touchdowns, but in the full point PPR, in this format where, of course, I want him to score touchdowns, but if he's racking up 15 plus points or whatever every single week in what I do expect will be a pretty decent offense, I want that. I want that on my team. In Underdog and half point PPR, probably a little bit less valuable, but I do really like Jacoby Myers. Great point here from Eagles. Running backs actually go quicker in drafters, which doesn't make sense with full point PPR. Yeah, that's actually when I did my, like I said, I did my first drafters draft the other day, and I was like, what is this? Is weird. This is my format. Everybody's taking all these running backs, and then you can get the Lennys, the Connors, the Jacobs. Some of these guys that I think are pretty good. Let's scroll up. Saquon. I think I took Saquon as my RB1 in the first draft that I did. I don't mind Cam Akers, Breece Hall, however you feel about ETN. I really like Michael Carter in this format, right? Again, on Underdog, Carter is a very different bet than here. Maybe Singletary. Just trying to look. Cordell Patterson is a pretty good bet at running back in this format. So there's just a lot of guys in that next tier down And the PPR benefits of the superstar wide receivers is huge too. That's another thing I think that probably goes overlooked in this format is outside of Christian McCaffrey, even Jonathan Taylor doesn't really separate himself in PPR formats, but the superstar wide receivers can. And so you can get those superstar wide receivers and James Conner, Leonard Fournette, pick your right Saquon, pick your whatever running back. And I think normally these 2v2 conversations, right? Dalvin Cook and Keenan Allen versus Justin Jefferson and Saquon Barkley. Normally those 2v2s are like coin flips. I think in this format, that's not really true. I don't think it's a coin flip. I think it's pretty heavily favored towards the superstar wide receiver. So I just want to lean into that a little bit. Ooh, I really don't want to take DJ Chark or honestly Mostert at this point in the draft. I do kind of like Fant here though. You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to lock up the 2 quarterback, 2 tight end build. Goddard and Fant, Burrow and Lance. I got my 2 workhorse running backs. Pretty strong wide receiver core. And now we're going to go running backs and wide receivers the rest of the way, 13 through 20. Yeah, you're going to get judged. You don't get to decide when the judging happens. That's just how it works. Yeah, I am really starting to, as Eagle says, love drafters. I I am really starting to love the strategy around the format. I was really bad at it last year. I mean, I might still be bad at it, but I was really bad at it last year, and I don't think I put enough time into thinking it through the strategy around this particular format, and so I'm really excited for like their main contest. I'm excited for this contest because this is probably where I'm going to focus the rest of my NFL time before the NFL draft, and but I'm extremely excited for their regular, main slate, if you will, main draft season contest, the best ball championship or whatever. This 100% this. Tony says I miss doing regular drafts over Superflex. That's how I feel. Like the Superflex is cool. So it goes both ways. We need the new formats. We need the sites experimenting with different things. We have to have that. Like I was really excited that they launched the Superflex thing. Like the moment it launched, I was like, time to fire up a stream. Let's see how this goes. But when it's the only show in town, like on Underdog, after a little while, it kind of wore me out because it's not how I like want for me personally, it's not how I want to draft all my teams. Especially when it got so efficient without any more news, it was tough, I think. And so let me take a look here. So one of my other takeaways, that is really just such an interesting fall for DJ Chark. Did he goddamn blow out his knee or something? What am I missing? I don't even really like DJ Chark, but like, did he get hurt in off-season training? Last year, everybody was all gung-ho on Lions wide receivers. Now they finally pay one, and we're not taking them. What I was going to say, though, on McKissick is, so in my first draft here on Drafters, I I did actually take. I think I took James White, and I think, especially, it's also depending upon your build, but there was this idea, which I also fell into last year, that even on underdog, that these pass catching backs can have like a certain level of utility on teams. And I think we misjudged what that utility really was, because they're still running backs at the end of the day, and they have variance to their roles as well. Now, I think James White would have been okay, but that team, we just drafted the Naheem Hines, the J.D. McKissicks, the James Whites, the Giovanni Bernards of the world, with an assumption that I think was not super rational around the role of the pass catching running back, and particularly on half point PPR playoff tournament formats. They're like pretty bad picks, because there's like almost no way that they can really truly pay you off. Like, you're just better off hoping for an Alexander Madison touchdown in any given week, right? He just happens to be in there when Dalvin Cook needs a blow. Then you are hoping for 10 points out of James White, and hoping that he sustains, and hoping that Giovanni Bernard gets this pass catching job that he never got. So in that format, I think those guys are, and I'm not sure they'll be overdrafted this year, but I think they were probably overdrafted last year, and I drafted them too much. However, I think that they in particular, structures, I think they make a lot of sense in this format. So it's one of those kind of, catch 22 ish situations. I'm actually going to take Deontay Foreman. I know he's not a pass catcher, which hurts in the PPR thing, but I think he is definitely going to be the handcuff to CMC. And since I've obviously locked up quarterback and tight end here, and I only have two running backs, I've been fairly wide receiver heavy with Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Boyd, Jacoby Myers, and DJ Chark. I like starting to bet on the contingent bets, right? Like over here, we have Khalil Herbert, Kenny Gainwell is kind of a little bit of combination of Eagles took Mostert. There's Daryl Henderson, right? These are the kind of guys I think we should be taking, and rookies probably. Yeah, this is how I felt too, Eagles. Eagle said I was burnt out on Superflex after the first week. That's why I've been trying to focus on this particular contest on drafters. That's how I felt too. I don't know why it is though, really, because like I don't get. It's funny to hear you say you got burnt out, because like you draft, if you got burnt out after a week on the contest, that says something about the contest, because you get burnt out. You don't get burnt out, relatively speaking, compared to like me or other people, but I totally agree. That's how I felt. It was really fun to dive into. I think, as Paul said, they should have just made it smaller. Just made it smaller. That was it. That was really the only thing for me. If they made it smaller, so I could invest, like you said, a week or so into it of drafting, and then that be it. I think that would be totally fine. Oh, the running backs are really bad here. This is an interesting situation here. I do really like Curtis Samuel, actually. Yeah, but who's chatting in here? Who is hold on a second. I'm taking Curtis Samuel, and then I'm gonna hammer some running backs. I'll be honest with you. I've literally been staring at this, and I did not know that this chat was there. This tab for chat. I had no idea that existed on this website. I have no fucking idea who Brendo is. Brendo, are you in the chat? Brendo, what you got the 101. You're talking shit. Erik, I like your receivers. Not so sure about your running backs, though. Who the fuck is Brendo? Best ball nation now. Good luck for second place. What is this? This is turning into the shit talking site. I'm gonna have to talk to the people at Drafters. This is unacceptable. We're trying to have a friendly draft stream here where we're all just having good vibes. We're all building good teams, and we're in the chat on the site talking shit. What's the world come to? Can't we all just be friends? Yeah, I don't know. Is that Tony? Is that you? Draft talkers. I'll mock up a new logo for them for this stream. Yeah, of course it's you. I thought so. That was good. I didn't think about that, Paul. Anyway, and he takes Trubisky, my guy. Can you let's move if you're interested in speaking more on this stream. Now you have to be in the draft and you have to go to the chat. This is where we're moving all the conversation. Let's just move it over there. I'm not even going to talk. I'm just going to communicate through the chat on the website because that's where Eagles has now moved over to the drafters chat. This is like FanDuel chat from like many years ago, or like every stupid website that had a chat functionality. I'm not really sure what the purpose is of us being able to talk to the people that we draft with. I mean, it's probably just like something they built when they first started, and it's funny though. That's really funny. Okay, since Brendo, who hasn't showed his face now, is worried about my running backs. I do agree that I need to take some running backs. Uh-huh. You worried about my running backs, bro? Here comes James White, who I was just telling you I was targeting. Yeah, draft. Oh my God, I forgot about this. So true. On draft, if anybody did or did not play on draft, play draft, whatever the hell you want to call it, draft.com. The people who created Underdog created Draft and sold to FanDuel a couple years ago was when, or a few years ago was when we all played on Draft for best ball. They didn't have chat, but you could do like emojis, or like if you have an iPhone, you can react to, or like you're on Slack or Discord or whatever, you can put the reaction emojis to like messages. You could do that to people's picks on Draft. So like most of the time nobody gave a shit. Like nobody cared enough to do that. But every once in a while you would get in the draft where there was one or multiple people that just wanted to shit on everybody else. And like you would get every pick was somebody like, shit emoji, the thumbs down or frowny face or whatever to people's picks. So good. What a world. Oh man. Good times. Those were good times. I forgot about that. I remember trying to max. This is many years ago now, trying to max on my phone the draft, whatever it was, their like $20 or $25 tournament, and getting down to the end, and I wasn't going to get there, but it was about to fill, and I just like entered 10 or whatever drafts at the same time. And so the contest locks, there's no more drafts you can enter. And I'm drafting like 12 teams. Like probably it had to be like 12 teams. Hold on. I'm surely taking a running back here. Ooh, I am going to take. I don't love him in PPR as much, but I'm going to take Marlon Mack. Um, I remember. I remember being at our old house, out on the back deck, with literally just my phone in my hand, and like never looking up, and my fingers never stopped moving for like 2 hours doing all of these drafts. And like she was my fiance at the time, my wife coming out and just being like, hey, what do you want to do for dinner? And I'm like, not now. I'm 12. Like I literally cannot stop looking at these drafts because I'm doing all these drafts, and people are, I'm probably auto drafting and somebody's shit emojiing my auto draft pick or whatever. And this is I was I'm not saying I'm good at best ball now. I was way worse back then. I was piling on. These are the days of Justice Hill. If you remember Justice Hill time when he was a sexy draft pick. Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis was a sexy draft pick on draft. I will say that was a really profitable year for me. And where I'm not team diversification, because I drafted, it was like 55% Jameis Winston and like 50% Chris Godwin. And my goal was to go into every draft to essentially try to stack the Bucks if I could. It was a Jameis, Godwin, Evans, OJ Howard situation they had going on there. And Jameis threw for 5,000 yards. Godwin was probably the best pick in all of fantasy, and so that was a really fun year. Even though I literally got Justice Hill. I don't know if he touched the ball all year. Dante Pettis ended up getting cut. It was really, really, really bad. But those are fond memories. The draft days. Anthony says, why are people still drafting Chuba, the third string running back? Yeah. I think they're hoping that he is like a split backup with Foreman, but I think it's pretty clear that Foreman is the backup. And the problem with Chuba is that, who's posted in the chat now? Who posted in the chat? Tony, if it's you, you're going to get booted from YouTube. I missed it. I think the real true big problem with, I'm going to take James Cook here because I want to mix in a little bit of I got a lot of olds at running back. Now I need to start taking some youths at running back. Yeah. Well, anyway, to wrap this up, the real problem is not even that you're taking him hoping he wins the backup job over Foreman. The real problem is that he's not a natural pass catcher. He's not a pass protector. He's not a passing down type of guy. And I know that Foreman isn't necessarily either, but that would be his path to beating Foreman to the backup job, would be winning the passing down stuff, which is obviously important when the starter is CMC. And so he's just not a better runner than Foreman. I don't think that's really even debatable. And so if he's not going to be able to catch passes better than Foreman, it's really going to be hard for him to win that backup job. So anyway, long-winded way of saying I agree with you, Anthony. Sir Shibe says, I took down a $25 in-season tournament on draft. I remember, yeah, cool format. I remember that they were like, that was the first of its kind when they did the in-season ones. I remember that was really fun. Peekaboo says, when you live in Ontario, so you can't play best ball anymore, all you have left is to watch. I feel sorry for you, but thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying, and I hope we can get around this Ontario issue, or at least get you something that you can do. We all like to bet on sports, but there's nothing quite like best ball in these kinds of contests. Yeah, this is true. Paul says CMC could be traded and he could be in a committee with Foreman. That's true. I don't know what I would put the odds on that. I know I listen to Stealing Bananas, and I've heard Siegel float the CMC trade, and I've heard I've seen a blurb here or there on Roto World or whatever talking about the CMC trade, and I think pretty low probability, but not totally. Oh yeah, great call. Hold on, let me make my. Oh, Sony's still around. Ooh, do I do Sony and draft another old, or do I do Damian Pierce? I do think I need to take Sony on this team, though. I think I need the variance to the free agent running back, hoping he lands somewhere that gives him a role. I don't know if that's going to work out, but God damn it. Who is still typing in the chat? Brendo. I swear to God. Brendo's just in here chatting it up. Messages. Oh, I can filter. What is happening? Brendo just in the chat talking about his takes as he drafts, shitting on my running backs, carrying on a lifelong conversation. Hope maybe I don't know. Here's Tony. Brendo, you should Brendo. You should check out Spike Week on YouTube. I agree, Brendo. Like and subscribe. But yes, to Peekaboo, if you're in Ontario, you can play on drafters. If you would like. If you haven't signed up for drafters, I just hit you with a little link in the YouTube chat. I believe that is a free ticket to the Best Ball Championship, or actually, I should know this, so I apologize. What the promo is right now. I think 25% deposit match up to $100. Yeah. So 25% deposit match on drafters. Hopefully we'll be able to utilize that a bunch heading into this draft season this summer. So heading into my last pick, and then we'll kind of look over some teams really quickly and get out of here. For the love of God. Am I getting killed on the stream? I'm at work. Okay, sorry. I had to mess with Eagles is taking Chuba, so I'm going to let him have it. A lot of youthful running backs back here. You know who I'm going to take, or I'm going to queue. Got 5 seconds. I'm going to take Ty Johnson. Just from a contingent bet, I know, like, I think he was a pretty good pick last year as a contingent bet. I'm not super hopeful for him. I mean, it's a 20th round dart, but I think he's like really just like not even going to get picked in these drafts. And Tevin Coleman is gone, and he's there. Michael Carter is the starter. I suspect he's going to play. And there's obviously the contingent upside if Michael Carter goes. If something happens to Michael Carter, so I kind of like him again in the 20th round. I also like Duke Johnson. Big fan of Duke Johnson, actually, in Buffalo. I took him, I think, in my other draft. So Paul says, imagine taking a running back in full PPR. Yeah. It was really I know you're trolling, but I think I very easily could have taken a wide receiver to end there. But I think what was important about this team, something that I do think about when I'm drafting is like, look at the players that I took. Leonard Fournette, old running back. James Conner, kind of old, at least fragile running back. Deontay Foreman, I mean, definitely a fragile backup running back. James White, old pass catching fragile running back. Marlon Mack, old fragile running back. Finally got to a rookie in James Cook. Sony Michel, old, not even on a team running back. And so I just wanted the extra darts. I would prefer, obviously, having a wide receiver there, but it was a kind of a strategic thing where I'm just gonna hit all these wide receivers through the first 12 rounds, and then kind of see how it goes. And I sort of pigeonhole myself into, I think, some extra volume at running back that is not generally my preference, but I think it's dog playtime. It is doggy playtime. So I think that means it's about time to wrap it up. But yeah, I'm open to 282. I think I would generally 2792 this, or even 2610 But I think either the 2610 or 2792 is probably the general preference for this. But I think making sure that you're flexible around how your draft is playing out is the most important thing. Like the numbers, we love to pretend like the numbers really matter. They don't fucking matter. And so when you took some of the guys that I took, I think looking at running back there is good. Like I'm largely banking on Justin Jefferson every single week, and then I'm banking on the Bengals passing game every single week. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. I think it turned out well. Peekaboo, I don't think drafters at this point is gonna launch an NHL best ball tournament, but it'll be fun if they did. So while I wrap up here and get these goddamn crazy dogs out of my office, tomorrow, if you are interested in NBA playoff best ball, so we only have we have a very, very short amount of time, a couple more days, not even 2 full days, I don't think, until the NBA playoff best ball tournaments lock on Underdog. Tomorrow, we're going to have a draft-a-thon. I'm going to just spend an hour. We're going to draft a bunch of teams, hopefully in the dance. Hopefully it's not full by then, maybe in their whatever the new tournament that they launched. And so tomorrow we're going to do a bunch of drafts in the NBA playoff best ball streets. And as Sir Shibe says, a woo from the dogs. The dogs they're not a wooing yet, but they're wrestling right over here next to me. So hopefully you guys had fun. We're definitely going to do a bunch more drafters streams. I thought that was great. I'm looking forward to more drafters content, and we'll definitely be doing a lot more, particularly when we get to the heart of drafting season. But for my crazy dogs, I will catch you guys tomorrow when we dive into some NBA playoff drafts.